Oh.
It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Good morning, Vietnam!
Let's get this show on the road.
Before you say anything, prepare to shut the fuck up.
Screw me. I ripped ass at the ATM.
McLovin! Nice!
Sit back, relax, and enjoy Irrelevant Platitudes with your hosts, Peter Benici and Lil Dazil.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to episode number 20 of Irrelevant Platitudes. We're hosts Peter Benici and...
Lil Dazil, bringing you a relevant commentary on all things pop culture and relationships.
Episode 20, we did it.
Also, we should change the title because we talk about sex and dating and relationships, not necessarily just that.
In that order? No, look, probably take this second to thank everyone that's listened over every single episode of the 20 that we've produced.
you're
21 if you count the pilot. I got some messages today from a good mate, Pedro, who was listening to yesterday's episode and liked the Rocky Balboa reference. No, we really do appreciate everyone that listens, everyone that turns up to the live shows.
Yeah, thank you.
20 episodes and growth is good and strong. So we're not going to stop. And if you like it, if you hate it, it's also good information to pass on.
Yeah, just let us know. Like, subscribe, comment. Tell us how much you hate us, heckle us. Just give us the content attention. That's all.
Yes, 20. 20's no laughing matter. I'm very, very proud that we got to 20. You got to do weeks before we can drink, or would you like to do drink before we week?
Yes.
You want to do drink before we week? Yes. This is the first time ever, episode 20, we're drinking before we're weeking.
We're breaking
Where's
the rules.
Protocol?
Drink of the week.
I was just like...
The thing. White Claws again, because they were in the fridge.
As always. Wait,
His
that
friend.
was abysmal. I can't.
Mango, to everyone listening. So over the bevo though, how was your week, ma'am?
Week has been quite solid. I've had like no sleep this week though. I'm lucking out on about like 2.5 hours over 3 or 4 days this week because I just keep staying
Why?
up. You know, just not doing anything because I'm not studying at the moment.
Okay, that was a lie. That was a long pause. To the subsequent person that's probably listening to this, there you go. Well done.
Anyway, this week has been good.
That's good.
I've not done anything because I'm on holidays from both uni and placement this week.
That's pretty cool.
So that's been really nice.
Jealous.
I went on a bushwalk yesterday, which was fantastic. I've had some big nights out, which have also been really nice. I've not really been home much, but when I have been, I've been able to cuddle with Subu, which has been good.
That's her cat.
That is my cat. I've had good days at work, which has been also nice. And I started placement for my personal training course as well.
Where'd they put you?
Well, I applied for them. So it's at 3 Point Training, which is in Sydney, Melbourne. Like not near Docklands, but sort of near there. But yeah, they're really cool. But PTs are a different breed of human. Like I kind of was taken aback because obviously when I'm surrounded by mental health people, it's always like, I'm depressed. And I'm like, yeah, same. And then when you're in like with PTs, they're like, are you ready? I'm like, for what? No, I've got anxiety. Please don't. So it's going to be a challenge, I think, adjusting to a new social setting in that way. But I'm excited and looking forward to that.
Yeah, you got to get used to narcissists that don't know they're narcissists.
Well, these people all seem quite genuine. But just
or
very
now.
Passionate.
I need a foreboding noise. Dun, 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 dun.
You got the run.
Yeah. True.
See?
Two pages
I know
over.
these things way too
You
well.
can't. Performance
Maybe
anxiety.
too late for it. It's all right. No worries. But yeah, how was your week anyway?
My week was very good. Started off with the A-League Grand Final on the Sunday.
I forgot about that. That was like
Melbourne
the
City won
soccer people,
3-1.
right? Like the footy ones. Yeah.
We beat Sydney at home, which was awesome.
Very cool.
And honestly, it was a good day. We almost were late, but Amy.
We blame
my
Amy.
mate. Well, it was literally. No, it wasn't.
Well, look, also,
I should have warned her
for people with
earlier.
ADHD, they're more likely to be late.
I should have warned her.
Time blindness.
That was my fault. Yeah. But what else happened? I got a new phone after 6 years.
I got a new phone.
6 years. I was pointing and then went up
I'm
to
sorry.
the phone.
I keep forgetting.
And I'm headed to Geelong tomorrow to go buy some more collectibles and make some more money because that's doing fucking gangbusters.
That's exciting. I was going to say you've unboxed a few collectibles tonight.
Yes. That was
How much
basically
fucking money
for
are
free.
you spending?
Zero.
Fucking nerd.
Zero if you count the flip. Like, I haven't spent any money for quite a while.
Okay.
Yep. That's right. When you know what you're doing, you don't have to spend any money.
Disagree.
Now, if only I could do that with larger sums of money, I'd be what they would call a billionaire.
Well,
But,
you're not.
that's not what everyone's here for. Everyone's here for TikTok and all those sorts of things. Hey?
Yo, you about done? TikTok, motherfucker.
Almost did that thing where I hit the wrong one and fucked everything up, but then I remembered not to
Screwed.
do that.
Truly.
All right, first one I have not seen. So,
I've probably seen this, but this is not my video.
all right.
Oh, this guy
I
kills
don't know
me.
about you guys, but I'm using this lockdown to better myself. Lockdown is not an excuse. Come on, let's go for a bike to the kitchen. I'm using this time to watch all my favourite movies. Lockdown,
I think that was born.
Sounded a bit
open
like it.
up. How are you going? Chockies whenever I want them. There's none left. And I can't go to the fucking shops. The gym? No, I'm quite happy here. Oh God. Oh God.
I felt that.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm using this.
Okay, so that was
wait,
very
wait.
good.
No, I was going to say go back because he's got this really funny one where he pretends to be like guys that you meet on a night out, like the really fucking insufferable people that are just spot. He does
Maybe
it
you
really
should have
well.
submitted that one, but that one
I
wasn't
didn't
submitted.
submit that one because I didn't submit this video and because I don't actually find him that fucking funny.
Yeah, no, it
Was that a
wasn't.
Hashi video?
It was.
You fucked up.
And I remember how to go full screen straight away.
Just started an
Tits.
OnlyFans. In 48 hours, how much money did you make?
48 hours.
Oh my fuck.
I made a little over $1 million.
What the
And then
fuck?
I gambled to like celebrate, and I won $30,000. Oh my god! Like this person, $100 tip. Hey, Corinna, can I get some pussy?
Corinna just started an OnlyFans. In 48 hours, how much money
Poggies
did
to
you make?
her.
Do you think that's
Nice
real
work.
though?
Fucking hell.
I don't think that's real. Is she famous?
I have no fucking idea who
There's
she
no way you
is.
can make $1 million if you weren't famous.
Mm,
Not $1 million. That's $1 million.
you forget how.
No, because like all the strippers in the world have OnlyFans and they all still strip. And I feel like if they all had $1 million, they wouldn't be working
It
anymore.
depends what you're uploading.
But what you have it for a week? What can you fucking manufacture in a week? 2 days. It was 48 hours. It wasn't even a week. It was 2 days.
I
It's
feel
not
like
real.
you just need to put people up to the challenge, truly, at this point.
Well, because and even like Cash Me Outside Lady, because we
How
covered
about
that. That was like a week or a month?
Yeah.
It's bullshit. Totally bullshit. I'm sorry. It's a great video,
Show us
and I wish it was real,
your
but
money,
the
thank
internet
you.
makes me so cynical. Like,
Sorry.
ruined everything for
Yeah,
me.
fair enough.
Last one. Boom.
Okay, everybody, so this is how Holly...
Oh, I fucked up.
Yes, that was a funny
I
one.
clicked
I
it.
like that
Okay, everybody,
video.
so this is how Holly said...
Yeah, see, this is the thing. Fucking Asian design.
Okay,
Make
everybody,
it
so this is-
easy
this is
to
how
make it
Holly's
large.
sitting,
Thank you.
Like that. So I'm gonna prop my phone up in her puss. Oh my gosh, what a tripod. What an angle. I could take pics. Pics through the puss. Puss pics. Oh, you're so fun. Okay, everybody, so this is how Holly's sitting.
love that.
Like that. So I'm gonna prop my phone up in her puss. Oh my gosh.
These
what
ones
a
have been really
tripod.
good. We haven't had to explain these ones at all this week 'cause
No.
it's all audio. No, they're all great. Good job, everyone involved. All right, so fucking we crushed that. We are moving
like
straight into the dating segment.
Just a tip, loves. Just a tip.
And all the while, you're just really wondering, are we going to get hopped up enough to make some bad decisions? Perhaps play a little game called Just a Tip. Just for a second, just to see how it feels.
Is that? Oh, he's still chilling.
He's still having a go.
Well, I've got more videos, but we can. I want to fucking leave that up. All right. So this week's dating advice is how to avoid terrible advice. Ironically enough, thank you for listening to this podcast, as we have great advice.
Or it could be terrible and you should just not listen to us as well.
No, you should definitely listen to us. But I think
Questionable.
the aim of today is to equip you with just the thought process of taking everything with a grain of salt.
Yep.
Also coupled with you can still learn things from really bad teachers also. That was taught to me by a very famous author who will remain nameless, who's also a piece of shit. In person.
Mark Twain?
Nope. I met them.
Oh, yes.
How am I going to meet Mark Twain?
Look, I don't fucking know. You could be a time traveler for all I know.
Oh, mate, if I could.
Hot Tub Time Machine. What a movie.
Have you seen the second one?
Yes.
Actually not that bad,
Not
right?
bad at all.
Good sequel.
I'd
so,
fuck John Cusack.
Yeah, this week we're looking to, if you're watching the visual podcast, you'll see Jordan Peterson. That's a key one for guys where he tends to get a lot of traction because he's able to present a lot of like really I'm just trying to structure this.
He's an evolutionary psych, so he puts things in very basic terms and
he lays out very non lethal topics and basically lays them out for you in a very kind of intuitive way, and it all makes sense to you, and it's all very, oh yeah, that's right, okay. And it might appeal to an agenda that you've got, or
like men's rights activists.
Yeah, so I would put him on the table. Basically, he would be the male equivalent of a feminist, but he is a bit more subversive about it, where he tries to hide behind it. He will basically take you to the point of male feminism, but won't push you over the edge.
Are you saying male feminism in the way of the extremist version?
Yeah, of course.
Let's use the term misandry then, because
Is that what
feminism
it is?
in itself
Yeah.
is not inherently bad.
We heard that the other day. Yeah.
I just want to...
Sorry, hang on. Can we go back? What was that?
correct that. Misandry.
No, but the other one. Were we saying it wasn't bad?
Huh?
So, but I would say there is a
just saying that-
hardcore feminist.
Yeah, but
like,
hardcore
that's
feminists are
dangerous,
misandrous,
like
because-
Clementine and stuff. There was a lady today at work who said, we had like one of these horrible meetings where like, it's all like PR-y and like, let's get everyone excited. And she was like my superhero because it was very jovial and fun.
Yes.
And I was like, what would your superpower be? Or who is your favorite superhero? And she's gone Clementine Ford. And I can't use names, lucky. But a very good friend of mine was positioned near me and may have matched with her on Tinder. And we looked straight at each other and just like, we turned our cameras off. Anyway, so back on track.
Misandrists.
Yeah. So he presents very logical ideas that would appeal to kind of a large portion of the male population. And just to give you guys the perspective as to how that could be dangerous is it's not that you're lured in, but once you start to see someone make rational sense and appeal to logic and things like that, you're more inclined to take what they're saying seriously.
And that's part of the biases that we take on as well with informational bias. We will process what people say. If they act as if they know something, we're more likely to go, oh yeah, absolutely, that sounds true. Yeah. People do it a lot, particularly leaders. For example, Trump would be a perfect example of that. He acted as if though he had the information. Maybe sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. But people would act on that. Technically, he was more of a charismatic leader, but that being said,
And Mr. Peterson is he's a very manipulative speaker.
Very smart speaker.
He will quite often, when he's questioned, he will stop the conversation and reframe it in I don't want to say framework again, but in a manner that will suit the way he has to debate.
Yep.
And he tends to breadcrumb people and gaslight and do a whole bunch of things. Stuff. And he will just straight cut people off. So whilst someone can be quite charismatic, you've got to ultimately read between the lines as to who the person's target demographic is. Because you've got to remember with all of this, right? Everything today is a product being sold to someone.
Yeah.
This podcast is a product being sold to someone. That product, though, that we sell is more entertainment-based and informative. So you can take it with you will. Like, we don't make money from the advice.
Yeah.
Whereas the male and female advice to dating programs, their entire process is based off making money from those products.
That. Absolutely. Yep.
So you will never get any one of these people that has half a right mind knocking anything that they've put. So you'll never get a completely unbiased perspective.
Oh, no. There's no... I think that's one of the things that people tend to forget. Bias is laced in everything.
Yeah.
Whether it be halo bias, confirmation bias, informational bias.
It's just more dangerous when it's the product itself.
It's more dangerous when it's a person of influence.
Although there are some teachers that will give you perspective. I'm not saying that's us by any stretch, but there are, but so the bigger ones tend to just be a lot more easier to understand and straightforward.
Yep. So one of the things I think that with Jordan Peterson that he does is he speaks in a very pragmatic, very rational, very intellectualized way. And there's nothing wrong with that, except when you are speaking to people who don't understand the content. So one of the things that we learn in psych, and I was saying this to you earlier, is that we learn how to write for the layman. And for those individuals who don't know what the layman is, it's just for someone who doesn't understand or isn't a professional in that area.
So you can have a conversation with someone that doesn't know
so
what
we
you're
speak
talking
like this. And if you don't understand a concept or I see you pulling a face, I'll be like, oh shit, I need to just reword that and rephrase it in a way that's actually appropriate.
It's low-key manipulation because he's hoping that you'll be so intimidated
that
you don't want to seem stupid.
But
you won't ask him how to explain it.
Language. He's using big words to sound like he's a smart person. And he is smart. There's no doubt about that. But it's a
I'd say more manipulative than smart.
I think the two of those go hand in hand.
Yeah, I think it gets you to a certain point, and then like if he was truly intelligent, I think he would ascend past something that's super one-dimensional. Because I guess we need to give them a bit more background without staying super hardcore on Mr. Peterson.
Just
it would
generally
be
speaking to more.
He definitely has an agenda, but he's very smart in the way that he never says it. And it's the old adage of taking a horse to water but not making it drink.
Yeah.
And I said this to someone today, actually. He's like someone, say there's a car and he's got all the car parts in the garage and stuff. He will teach you how to assemble it. He will take you into the garage where all the parts are and all the tools are and actually show you how to like put the car together without touching anything and then just have it in front of you. And then you'll make that step on your own and therefore that solidifies, the belief.
Yeah.
Because you've gotten there on your own. But we've got a little tidbit to just show kind of if you just dig beneath the surface with these people that sell these sorts of products, you'll find some really fucking heinous shit. Now, he won't draw... We had to actually dig a little bit because, ironically enough, quite hard to find stuff these days. There was quite a lot of bad stuff when he first popped up, but he subsequently had a lot of that removed. Not necessarily a bad guy, but you make the decision yourself based off this, I think I would say.
Okay, and now it's 50, 60 years later.
He's talking about contraception, the introduction of contraception with women.
When is it okay to have sex? Exactly. And when is it not okay to have sex? And what does it mean that it's okay? And what does consent mean? And the answer to that is, well, we never used to have to think these things through because the rule was don't have sex until you get married. That was the rule. Now that isn't the rule. Okay, so what's the rule?
So what you can see is he's repeating the word rule. So he's trying to passively code to you that something that was inherently wrong, the fact that there was a premise that you would have sex before marriage, was wrong.
I would have been shot through the eye.
Was a rule, therefore it would give it some sort of validity. So you can see this guy knows how to use...
A rule is also imposing unrelenting standards. It's also being punitive. It's being
and rules are usually the right way,
It's authoritative. It's authoritative. It's you need to do X, Y, Z because if you don't, and that is also something that perpetuates a lot of individuals with mental health issues because they'll have rules in their head. If I am not doing X, Y, Z...
Or even
then
the
that
right
means
thing.
I'm bad. It means I'm defective. It means I'm unlovable. And that's perpetuating that.
So it's all framed
using language
to make you feel bad.
Yeah. And he's using psych language to manipulate. Yeah. Exactly.
A lot of self...
Yuck. I hate this man.
The gurus and whatnot will use this sort of shit to get you on side. You've got to be listening for these things when you pick up these programs and these little videos.
Well, we're not having a conversation.
He's currently in the process of trying to justify...
someone does something that seems like
you'll
it
see.
Untoward, and then mobbing them and trying to extract
mobbing,
the rule out
saying
that
that's
way.
rape.
And it's not a very effective way of doing it.
So because we jumped in, it's going to be hard for people to follow.
You want to decrease
but
campus rape? That's easy. Get rid of alcohol.
Okay, so
abstinence is not. Oh my lord! Harm minimization, education. You're.
No, I know it's triggering,
really...
but we've got to come at them politely, right?
I can't.
Because he does, and that's how you win. So, what he's trying to justify from this, if you were to follow a logical plane, and if this was up to someone like this person, they would. As soon as I started to deconstruct what they were saying, they would stop what I'm saying, reframe it, and then come at me, which is what he does. But he said the introduction of contraception is basically a gateway drug to increased sex, increased STDs, and a byproduct of all of that
So you
extra
can't
sex,
have
because it's
family.
all bad because they had a rule where they couldn't get married because that was bad.
Very heteronormative way of
is
thinking.
now that all of these innocent people are getting accused of rape.
Of the children.
Right? Now, can you see what target demographic that would appeal to?
Christians?
The people that he sells his product to, which is like stupid dudes, effectively, right?
Well, I'm just saying, like, I love all my gay mates, all my male mates, but for the individuals who have said that Jordan Peterson has been exceptionally helpful to them, I worry.
But I guess it's that it is the idea of you can learn from really bad teachers,
but it's
now that we're giving people this, it's understanding that you can learn.
And this is just one snapshot too. So, like, to be fair, he has got some credible things that he does say. I will agree to that because he's an evolutionary psych. You can see in the way that he.
But I'm sure heaps of dictators say some things that make sense and are okay.
Good. I'm glad we're on the same page with that. But I'm trying to at least play devil's advocate to myself to be able to remain neutral and fair.
Yeah.
But he is a very intelligent person. He's got evolutionary psych as his background. So, of course, he's going to come from a heteronormative background in terms of the way that he's speaking about it. He comes from a very binary, sex-based approach. So, I understand his logic and I understand where he's going with it. I think that he just fails to recognize both social norms, acceptable and moral norms.
Yeah.
And then within that, just general human rights, like women having the ability to have birth control is an exciting thing.
Yeah.
Just not just women, but people in general that have access to that. It means that we can have sex with multiple people and it not be a shameful, stigmatizing thing. It means that if we want to have a family, we get to choose when. It's not a matter of, oh, fuck, well, we, can't use anything else, so we might as well procreate because sex isn't about procreation. Sex isn't about marriage. Sex is completely...
It's about what you want it to be about.
Separate from that, it can be interweaved with it. But exactly, it's a choice.
Yeah.
And I just...
But so whilst, I guess, to give it perspective and be a little bit in the middle, because I was quite obviously against I understand with our logic that it is also people's choice to believe that.
Agreed, yes.
But just understand that when you when you impact people in a negative way, you forfeit the right to choose your stance. So if you impact someone in a negative way, therefore detract from their experience in life, there is an innate issue with that.
Yeah.
Some would say it could go into like illegal areas and things like that. So yeah, if it's, I get it. He gives dudes that are lost guidance, and it's shit your dad should have done, or your mum should have done, or your uncle should have done, or your friends could have helped you with. Look deeper, is all I'm saying. So whilst we have a male example, we also have a female example. So this is she's like a jack of all trades, but another one, a self-confessed dating or what do you call it when it's self-professed dating guru. She's a producer on TV. Somehow was able to get her own podcast. How did that happen?
Triple M.
Yeah. And this is another one that does the opposite. So she basically, she's not Jordan Peterson level. Don't get me wrong. She's not in the same ballpark, but similar sentiments, right? Very much that whilst Jordan pushes the promiscuous female angle, she will push the dumb dude angle. And I guess if you can make the jump that I'm trying to have everyone take, she's actually super fucking popular, and has a lot of followers, not just on, Insta, but whatnot. So while she tries to preach all of these things, she's dated, guys that have, physically assaulted partners' dads and things like that. So I guess I wanted to give an example from the other end.
Yeah.
Just so I didn't want to use Clementine Ford because it was that's too
Overdone
polarizing.
And also very obvious too.
Yeah, and that's obviously really bad. Like, yeah. So there is it from. She doesn't have much visual content. I think just because she's quite one dimensional. But let's just pull some shit up and see if it's that bad. You slid into David's DM before that was even a thing. What is that? If you break up with a narcissist, you're in a real shitstorm. So
every woman likes a bad boy image. I feel like that one would be interesting, considering it's
maybe we have to start doing shit like this for the podcast.
Maybe.
I was head over heels in love, and then she just left the country. She disappeared. So again, she's also in her later years as well. This is where I guess you get a lot of that. The hyper fanatical stuff is when they start to get a bit older. Like Jordan, I think Jordan's in his 50s or something.
I would say so.
You fucking hope so. He looks that grey. But yeah, so there was actually no real dating advice except that when you're looking at things, grain of salt it, see what works for you. There might be some parts of being a bit more assertive that work for you, which they should. And I do think in this day and age, a lot of guys are afraid to make eye contact because of Me Too type stuff. That has gone a lot from the general kind of sphere of meeting people out. I know a lot of people in my direct circle are very conscious of not making people feel uncomfortable.
Which is good and important. But when you're overly cautious
it's too much now. Yeah.
I understand that. I think coming from at least a female identifying perspective here, it's like I prefer the overly cautious, and maybe that's why I'm also more likely to initiate.
But it's because of the perspective that you come from, right? Because you're
absolutely.
negatively
My
impacted by that.
perspective is I have look, statistics are 1 in 5 women that you know has been sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
That can include abuse, like rape. Trigger warning as well. A heads up for that. But anything of that, in the workplace, etc.
Yeah.
So when you're going out as a woman, those are things that you do keep in mind. And to be honest, I think it's a bit more than 1 in 5. I'll be quite legit. Every freaking girl that I've spoken to.
It's a lot. Yeah.
There's a lot. So when you're going out, I still don't think there's that overly cautious mindset though. I do think that it's an extremist view. I think we all keep it in mind and we're all very cautious. But women are very protective. If we're going to the bathroom, we go with each other. If we're going out somewhere, we are messaging each other the addresses of the people we're going to see.
So you're saying more it's okay to have that
I think
confidence?
the approach is not a concern.
Yeah.
It's about how
can you see
approach.
how the jump is made by guys that are already uncertain and they're already doubting themselves to do it in the first place? Then you have that extra layer. It's just like another excuse.
Well, so then that's what you guys need to work through, because at the end of the day, you're not having to deal with
You could say that about things from the other side, though. When it becomes like a cultural...
have to deal with the fact that there is someone that's likely
I'm
to
just looking at
assault
that
you
instance,
in that
not
way.
the greater topic of it. But once it becomes... ironically, right, the cultural norm of like... what you guys would have called chauvinism and all that sort of stuff, like the blokey culture, which is apparently so toxic and things.
I love chivalry. I think it's beautiful.
Chauvinism is what I was talking about.
Yes. Sorry, I thought you were going with chivalry. You were like opening the door, and then I was like, chivalry.
Yeah, chivalry's bomb. That it can kind of exceed past what it was trying to stop, and there's a flow-on effect, and it's not the end of the world. I'm not saying that by any metric. What I'm trying to say is it can confuse a lot of dudes and stuff. And having stuff out there like this, that it's okay to be a little bit overconfident or even overconfident. It's okay to be overconfident the way you were. It's just obviously guys that are nice and care, right, that are decent humans, kind of always tend to be like, I don't want to be that rapey dude. So it's like you have this inner battle, right? And I guess a lot of dudes that didn't care or they're like, I'm unaffected, that might be a bit of a red flag for them also.
Yeah.
To have all of this stuff go on and not even have the thought of, oh, was I ever like that? Or was I ever in a situation like that? Or have I maybe made someone feel like that? If you haven't had that thought, I wouldn't rest on your morals of, oh, that's just because I'm a good dude.
Also, look at your bros. Look at your circle. If you've seen a guy friend of yours do that, are you also sitting there passively and letting it happen? If you are, you're just as bad, just saying.
Oh, look, I understand from like people's perspective that could be seen that way, enabling and things. But you've got to remember too, it is, but on the same token, if we're making these steps forward, I think it will change over time.
I think you need to call out your bros because
there's ways to do it and
that
stuff.
Looks good on your end as well. I'm not saying that that's going to guarantee a lay because it won't. But
no, that's called white knighting and that's disgusting. That should never be done.
But what I'm saying is if you're actually calling out your bros, if you're seeing that behavior, what it does, it goes, it's
up to the person on how they speak to the individual about it. Not up to anyone else to dictate to them how they speak to their friends.
No, of course not. No.
I think if I would personally have those conversations, not when it happened, I would have those conversations later. Because again, I have a personal relationship with the person that's committed whatever problem. And it's not up to the other person to dictate how I speak to my friends, right? I think that's important, that we should still be allowed to address these issues how we like, and it shouldn't be told to us how to have the conversation.
I agree with the how-to telling. I think that's completely, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I
It's
do
getting lost a
think,
lot these
though, within certain limits, there's a time and a place where that talk needs to happen almost straight away.
But I would stand by the fact that it can happen when the person wants to have the conversation, because they're a human.
Yeah, and obviously confrontation's fucking scary. It's intimidating. You've got things in relationships at stake. I understand that.
It's more
completely.
philosophically like we should be allowed to have the conversation.
Yeah, but I think, a healthy dialogue needs to be surrounded when it comes to that kind of thing of, oh, dude, you're being like a little bit pervy.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe next
trust me.
time.
It happens. But I think I strongly believe actually that we should still allow people to do things when they see fit. And
trial and error as well. You will learn what works and what doesn't.
Shit, there's been some pretty hectic shit that's happened in the 40s and stuff that I go on about too much. That a lot of passive people allowed to happen, right? But we go forward and we build, the road one brick at a time.
And the way we do that is through communication.
But we don't dictate. We don't ever dictate to people, right? We talk, we inform, we have the conversations. We don't ever tell people when to do things. We don't ever... That's not... But see, this is the narrative that I'm saying that's a problem, is if you genuinely want to be in this space that everyone's saying that we're so accepting and whatnot, which is actually going to lead us into our next bit, which is awesome. Cool. If we are so accepting and we are so open, unfortunately, you have to tolerate the ignorance and you communicate with it. You can't. Okay,
I'll agree with the communicate. I'm not going to tolerate someone being an absolute dickhead and then going, oh, yeah, I mean, you could have done this, X, Y, Z. I'm not about that. And when you think about it contextually, all the things that shifted change, though. Things like women's rights, LGBTQI rights, right?
Yep.
How'd they start? Riots, marches, all that kind of stuff. All this talking and informing, like you said, and educating, but it had to be noisy. It had to make noise for it to make an impact.
I don't agree with that. I don't think it has to be noisy. I think
it doesn't necessarily
eventually
have to,
people get frustrated and it becomes noisy.
People listen to it. When people are not listening, that's when voices become raised. That's when people start to become angry.
I would agree that people notice things, but you could say the same about being aggressive. And that's not a good thing.
But there's a difference between being assertively, like holding protest things, as opposed to people who are just screaming at you and then punching everyone.
I think a lot of that is perspective. So if you're on the opposite end of a protest, I would say that wouldn't feel very good for you, right?
On the
and that's what I'm saying. As we're trying to, they would feel empowered and all that sort of stuff. But if we can have an area, but this is what I'm saying. This is more an evolved way of thinking. Is like, you don't want to do things the way we've always done them because they will always give the same results, right?
So we want to change it.
Everyone says MLK was this amazing human, this and that. He used to beat his wife and cheat on a flat stick, right? Whether that's good or bad, I think we can all inherently say that's not good, right?
Yes.
But you want to move forward. So you have, I guess to put that in context, like you can have very bad things in very good scenarios.
And you know what? I'll agree with that. And I'll also say, to agree with you a bit further, people respond well to confrontation in soft manners. The minute you get aggressive about something or have the conversation, it's I'm defective, I'm bad, so I'm going to get defensive. When you have a casual chat, like you said, in a chill spot, in a nice conversation, like, hey mate, you're not doing the best thing. Or even with my girlfriends, like sometimes they'll be doing XYZ scenario and it's like, okay, we need to have a chat. And I mean, I've been part of the brunt of the conversation, like you're being a bit clingy, take a chill pill.
Yeah.
Like all those shits, right?
You ready for this one?
All right.
But I'm saying healthy dialogue in a approachable manner is probably the best way to elicit change on an individual level. On a macro level, it needs to be bigger. And I think that's what I'm trying to talk about. I think
we're past the macro level now, though. It's a lot of the
societally speaking, we are working towards a less.
I'll show you what I mean, because with this next news story, it'll make a bit more sense.
Okay.
No news is good news.
Alrighty. So this week, there was what's been deemed. So the narrative behind this story is there's a guy in the UK who wants to identify as a Korean pop star. So he's had all this surgery and stuff.
Okay.
And whatnot. And it's obviously been shunned by LGBTQ and all that sort of stuff because they're saying you're making a mockery of all that thing, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Understandable. Get it. I'll play this in a second, but I guess what I want to start by saying is, do they understand that when you're going into these areas of wanting acceptance and things like that, I understand it's very personal and it feels like it delegitimizes what you're trying to do. I get that. But the very premise of what you're saying is you just want to be accepted for being you. Now, this guy clearly has issues, a whole bunch of other things going on, but should we not treat him with the same level of compassion and respect that they want? If he wants to be identified as a rock, let him identify as a rock. That should not detract from your personal struggles and your personal goals. It will not delegitimize them. People will not... I understand that's a common thing of they're saying like, well, these people want to identify as a man, woman, Zimzer and all that stuff. And, I want to identify as a rock. Let them identify as a rock.
I love rocks.
How does that affect your time in the house in any way, shape or form? But I find it incredibly ironic that people that just want nothing but acceptance, when it's put on the other foot, so quickly jump to hate.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, we need to have the conversations. Let people that have obvious mental problems have them. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't need to target them, attack them, and blow it up.
I think I understand, because like I completely understand your point. And I can understand as well from the LGBTQIA community. But that it's separate to someone that's identifying as a Korean person. Separate because that's a cultural thing. LGBTQIA is to do with sexuality and gender.
Yeah.
Now, if this person was identifying as who was born biologically a male and then was identifying as a female, different story, because that's associated with the community. I think that the community and just people generally should be accepting, because at the end of the day, it is
that's
what
the
it
biggest
is.
thing. Yes. Yeah.
But it goes into the question of cultural appropriation. If you are white and you are not of Asian descent, you're essentially, I don't know what the term would be, but you're basically doing a blackface equivalent.
But if a person genuinely feels that way and has no malice behind it.
But if you thought that you were born, is it because you love the culture so much that you're trying to look like that? Because that's different.
But
because that in itself is more easy to accept than someone who's going, I identify as a person or an individual with Asian descent. Because if you're not and you don't have Asian descent background, that doesn't make
But don't you think we should allow
sense.
like the same process you would for a trans person and whatever, and all the psychological testing and stuff they go through? Should we not afford this person that same?
We should afford them kindness, empathy, and acceptance if that's what they believe. But we also need to go back to the communities where it's prevalent, right? So, for example, with trans communities, these are people that are born in a body that they don't believe is theirs. They go through years of torment where they truly believe that this is the case. They sometimes undergo gender reassignment surgery, all of this process, and they've been vilified, bullied, all of that their whole lives. You take that. That is a very, very different experience than someone in this situation. They both are equal in the sense that they are identifying as something different. They should be respected.
But do you not think he could feel like he's from?
But if he thought
Korea?
he was
like if he's deep
but
again, like so we don't have the information.
Liking the culture so much that you want to be a part of it.
But we don't have that information.
And without that information, we can't make the judgments and we can't make the calls. And so I'm not going to be able to have an opinion on this.
But do you see what I mean? Is like, yeah, but we're having a discussion about it. But that's the very point I'm trying to make, though, is
without the information,
an entire community at large, ironically, has done what has happened to them forever.
But I think it's about cultural appropriation, because culture and race are two very different things to sexuality and gender. They are all
people said the same things. People said the same things about sexuality and gender when they were being, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, and I agree.
But that's what I'm saying. It's just we're at a different point in time
where this is less accepted.
Having a different conversation. Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I do know.
But this is the progressive thinking, not the we've got to we've got to make this scenario fit the norms now. It's the continuously moving forward and allowing people to do what they want to do and just be their own maestro, do their own thing, man. Like if this guy, and we know he's taking the piss, but it's It's getting past that shit and allowing him to do it. I get it detracts from your situation. It makes you angry. 100%. It's fucking disgusting. They'll come unstuck, but afford them the same respect that you want.
And also, if you don't pay it much attention, if someone's saying,
but if you want to pull me up, you'd be like, well, why don't you do that for religious people?
I don't really. I'm not going to.
I'm allowed to.
I don't want to try.
Can't make up. A British influencer.
Look, I like his voice.
He is
a British influencer.
It's like it's the damn guy.
That's after more than a dozen surgeries to make him
look
to
narrate my
like
life.
his favorite K-pop
and I guess this
star,
is
meaning Korean.
So he wanted to be his favorite pop star.
He identified.
So
that's where I say nah.
What?
Because if you were just trying to look like a favorite pop star, that's not you actually.
Yeah.
It's not gender.
He's clearly doing it. He's clearly doing it for that purpose. But it's the conversation of we can't make that call. You know? Yeah.
I personally sit on the fence of do what you got to do, but be prepared for the backlash that's going to come societally.
What the hell is he thinking?
And that's a bit shitty too. Like.
To discuss this situation.
Well, this is Fox.
I don't know, Rashonda.
This is Fox, dude. This is going to be so hard, right? I didn't even think.
Oil Landon, your thoughts being transracial. He wanted to.
I'm glad that they got a big
Korean.
set of people too.
See, I shouldn't answer you because I'm identifying as Oprah right now. Mental illness is real, and that's what this is. This is somebody that has just really bought into the hype. I'm mad at the surgeons that perform this because, I would definitely think this.
She's also not a medical professional and can't diagnose him with a medical problem, just so we know, guys.
So now we're going to just appropriate somebody else's
He's a fucking
culture.
journalist.
You can't just put
That's
on and take
terrifying.
off Korean culture and African American culture. And I think that's exactly what this person is doing.
And I said that exact same thing.
Is it insult?
Yeah, no. But again, they're projecting their own, like, no one knows. We have no evidence to justify that he's not 100% mentally Korean. We have no information to say that. The information we do have, he spent $250,000 to look like it. He believes it. He's told us that. If you had flipped that mentality with like sexuality, gender reversal, we would have.
He probably wouldn't have had to go to therapy to actually get the assignment of surgery. He probably wouldn't have to have gone through all the things that trans people have to go through.
You know what I mean? Like what if that's something that we're identifying and seeing? We know.
Well, if that was the case,
but
then
again,
they can go
I
through the
guess
exact same process as a trans
I'm
person.
at fault here too.
And they can
I'm quickly, just like that idiot author / journalist, assuming that he has some sort of mental. I don't know. He could genuinely believe that. We don't know, right?
But if you genuinely believe that, that would still be
totally is
something to look at. It'd still be important to assess, to look at in therapy to assess whether 100%. Is this exactly how I believe that I am?
Yeah.
And then you'd assess similarly to a trans individual. Are they prepared to go through surgery? Do they understand the ramifications, consequences of if it doesn't go well? If it does go well, what that means for them?
I think they have checks for.
Was this
they have psychological checks for breast enlargements, don't they?
From when they were younger too, because for the most part, trans individuals do experience this from a very young age where they're self-aware. Was this individual feeling this when they were young? If not, was it when they started to involve themselves into that Korean culture lifestyle?
Yeah.
Because obviously they've talked about BTS here with the K-pop band. Was it just their formation, and is this a fan-based reaction with obsession? And that's where mental health.
But we all need the experts. Right? Let's get through it. We've got what fucking.
Actually, he's not the first person to use the word transracial to identify as Korean. In fact, the definition of transracial is, someone being adopted into another culture, like Korean adoptees, and there's heavy and traumatic baggage that goes along with it. So to just decide to change that definition of transracial is also a slap in the face. And this guy keeps saying.
Also, another author who's trying to give advice with both of her books on screen. Just saying, this is that thing we were talking about before.
Yeah, but
you've got someone trying to give you advice whilst trying to sell a product.
And an Asian woman who can actually speak to culturally the position that it's in. Because what we need more of is less white people speaking about issues that aren't related to white people. We can speak on it because we're talking about pop culture and references related to society.
As white. Like, we've experienced racism and stuff as well. And I would say they can't.
I'd say discrimination more so than racism.
No. So open racism. Definitely open racism. But this is what I mean. See how because I look white, people assume that I've never experienced it before. Yeah.
And
then like the thing is like, but my parents being slightly older,
they would have.
They immigrated here under the White Australia policy and all that sort of stuff. So it's like, this is what I mean is because people, the irony is because people are of a certain color, they could not have experienced racism. And it's like, I understand your shit was heinous, bro, 100%. But fuck you for assuming you fucking monopolized the sympathy card with that shit. Everyone has struggles. Everyone has traumas. But again, afford the person the same respect that you want about your issues, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But what I was pointing out was she's definitely hawking her product.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
You know, like...
People are bullying him, but people are...
if she wanted to show, like, the I guess her...
pictures of BTS up, am I right?
Well, I mean... if she wanted to legitimize herself or whatever, they do that when it starts.
Yeah.
Like they say what you are.
Telling him what he's doing is just totally wrong in all levels. It's another form of cultural appropriation.
Not a psychologist, can't diagnose that, can't say that, but has said
Louis,
that.
let's hear from you on this.
I think it's secondhand cultural appropriation. You know, I remember I was born in Korea. I was born in Pyeongtaek, Gyeonggi-do, all right? And we didn't get back into the States until I was
Does his accent then give him cultural appropriation? It is.
No, because
he's becoming
Korean,
American, right?
If you were raised in America, it's different.
I'm trying to learn. So if he's...
That wasn't me trying to take a dig either.
So if he's like, I don't sound like I'm Maltese, right? Like, or the generic Maltese thing, whatever. But culturally, I'm Australian. Have I culturally appropriated to be Australian?
No, because were you born in Australia is my first question.
Say I wasn't.
Still no, because you were raised predominantly in Australia, which means that is part of your cultural heritage. If he was born in Korea and then migrated to America and then became part of that, you're going to pick up accents. You're going to pick up...
So for the other guy to not cultural appropriate, he just would have to move to Korea.
It's not about that, because if you were 25 and then moving...
I'm just trying to understand it,
So, sorry, I'm still using a tone. I'm noticing that. I'm not trying to.
It's okay.
So, for example, let's say he's 25, right? And he's decided to move to Korea 2 years ago. He's not culturally appropriating. He's just living in Korea.
Yeah.
If he...
So that's what I'm saying. Like, for me...
If an individual was born in America, right?
Yeah.
At age 2, they just their parents migrated and they moved to America, and then they moved to Korea. And then they started to speak Korean. That's not cultural appropriation, because you're developing your awareness around culture. Assimilation.
What is the difference between assimilation and cultural appropriation then?
Cultural appropriation is when you're adopting specific things from cultures in a way. So I guess the best example, people who wear headdresses, right?
Yeah,
to
the Indian
festivals.
one. Yep.
It's a native tradition, which is exceptionally important and culturally specific. Only like head chiefs can wear it, and individuals who don't. It's the same as the didgeridoo. If females were to play the didgeridoo, it's not a good thing. It's disrespectful to the culture. Yeah. Cultural appropriation is being disrespectful to the culture by taking parts of it and then trying to appropriate it within your culture in an unethical, unmoral, and not socially appropriate way.
Okay.
That would be the difference.
Does that make sense? It does, but it gets very dicey, right?
It is, and that's where there's a lot of people. So, for example, with blackface, cultural appropriation, that's what it is. For example, a contrary thing to that
but you could just say that's racist,
but you know,
right?
geishas, yeah.
Yeah, they whiteface.
But in Japanese culture, it's actually considered encouraged to wear things like kimonos. Yeah. It's actually not cultural appropriation, and people have spoken on that.
Yeah,
so
I guess at
really
that point it gets so grey, because you're saying basically like the angelification of white people by their culture. That's still racist.
It really, it's all dependent on the culture.
But because it's embedded in culture. Yeah. I've had white friends with dreadlocks. They're not cultural.
And also,
it looks cool.
You wouldn't be, because Nordic countries also.
Yeah, we had that.
Podcast,
and they fell on their ass with that one. Yeah. So I guess a lot of it is maybe just say you're offended when people do that shit. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
And then they can have the conversation there on a personal level and shit. Like, all right, let's let them finish this video.
About 8. So I remember when it wasn't popular to be a mixed kid, particularly a part.
To people listening, that guy is very Asian, just so you know, because if you're listening, you would not know that.
Black and Korean mixed kid in Korea. If you look at Black culture in America runs culture around the world. And if you look at K-pop bands, they've appropriated culture themselves. So while I do find it insulting, I
I
find it
can't.
even more
Colonel
ironic
Sanders
that,
with an Asian
that somebody would
face.
appropriate Korean culture on top of that. It's an insult. I get it. But like I said, I can remember vividly when blackface was acceptable in Korea, you know? So it's yeah, I've got mixed feelings about that.
And Lewis, do you see a mental issue here when someone goes this far to look like someone?
No one
of
is
another
qualified
race?
to talk about this.
Oh yeah, I mean the guy's sick. I mean, it's
He was on Dr. Phil. He was quick. When did Dr.
Damn.
Wait, did Dr. Phil blow this up? That guy,
Maybe
that
that's-
mate, he
I love
knows.
Dr. Phil.
He knows how to make money. I tell you
Smart
what,
man.
he gets on that shit like it's man, like white on rice.
Somebody that's willing to get his cheekbones lifted and his eyes
Korean.
cut into what he perceives to be an Asian eye. You know, yeah, of course that's a certain level of mental illness. The guy is sick. Is he doing it for attention? Probably so. But he's a fan of the band, and that's who he chose to look like.
I guess that's the thing too, right? Like, it's a choice at some point, and if he wants to look like that, can't he look like that? Like, if he genuinely wants to look like that, why can't he look like that? In Western culture, at least. I get it if you wanted to go to, you know, example where you couldn't do that. Okay?
Yeah.
But Western culture is pretty chill in terms of that shit. Like, why can't we just let the guy... It's weird, and other people feel uncomfortable. But, like, we also live where you can say that it's bad, right? But we don't have to have some sort of... This shit was all over the internet the last 2 days.
Really?
We don't need to have a fucking social upheaval, mate. And I even tried to, I was going through cached browsers and non-cached
It was
browsers.
still there. All right.
It's being pushed like a fucking maniac.
Rashonda, did we do this as a society by
Look at the meta. This is us playing someone else's video, playing some
But
shit on
to
TMZ
look
on
like a
Instagram.
BTS singer.
little thing that someone
Like,
says they are? Did we do this as a society?
Yeah, because what we're doing is we're saying you don't have to be who you were born. So I get the whole argument with when it comes to gender, but race isn't something that you can take on and take off. And
I agree with.
Isn't it though? Is it a discussion that we can have that leads us to a place where maybe race isn't a determining factor of people's identities?
No, we're not at that place.
No, but I'm saying this is what I mean. It's like seeing these things and seeing these breadcrumbs as the starts of the conversations, right? So we can get there faster. So you're not having the protests, the different mindset of having the conversations, understanding that whilst we don't understand why he's doing this shit, we have our justifications that he's possibly insane or whatever, but allowing these things to be legitimate for him, because in his reality that's legitimate anyway, right? Like, no one can refute
then
that.
You need to go to a schizophrenic and you look
Again,
at those
let
things
the
and you need to
professionals
compare
do
it
what
in
they
that
got to
same
do.
box, right?
Yeah.
But I think she does make a really good point because race is very much different. And also, I guess a side note,
Based
right?
on current definition.
But let's also look at this, right? I do not and have not heard historically at all, like this is just a new thing where the race stuff's popped up. I've probably actually not heard this more than maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
Individuals that are transsexuality, all that has historical evidence that has been true and observable throughout our timelines. That is not the case in this society with racial differential identification. There would be
can we not see the
evidence
irony that like rewind like 30 years and you've got the same thing with gender?
But it's more than just 30 years ago with the gender thing. That it's well before that. Like there is so much evidence.
Yeah, the time that I was trying to get to, because it's spitball.
Oh, sorry, go back.
Is just that it was recent.
Yes.
Right? And it was the exact same conversation with a slight variance from gender, which at that point in time was seen as a static value. Right? Race, currently seen as a static value. Gender changed. See what I'm saying? Like,
well,
she even said, I understand the gender thing. Like, you don't. You're just saying that because you know you'll get fucking cancelled if you don't say that. 1. 2, look at the premise behind it. You just take the two concepts and interchange them, given the point in time, and it's seen as it doesn't make sense, it's ridiculous and whatever.
I think they're very different.
Again, based on no information, there's no research into this. There's no, but this is what I'm saying.
Also what
like,
I mean, like ethnographers, there would be a historical count of these things being identified.
I'm sure there was historical counts of male and females as well.
Well, there was, and that's what I'm saying. Even trans people, that there is a history where you see all these patterns.
Yeah.
When the evidence and the literature starts to show that, you know, and obviously I actually haven't looked into this, so I can't speak on that.
No one has, and this is the point I'm trying to make is. It's already coming at it from a closed perspective, right?
That's how most things start as well, too, when they're introduced. New concepts.
But this is my point. This is my point, right?
Yeah.
Is that conversations need to stop as like the most negative person in the room. Conversations need to stop starting in the negative when we need to understand we're literally just repeating ourselves in a forward motion. Like it's the same sorts of issues that we end up finding. Hating, coming to a middle ground, backwards rationalizing, and moving forward. Like, it's going to take nothing away from anyone to just be like, cool, he identifies as that, you're offending everyone in Korea, probably think about that, but also talk to a specialist. Next.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? Imagine if that was done with even before trans. Mate, the fucking, what's the book that all of the psychs have that has all
DSM.
the medical conditions? Is that it?
Yes.
That was listed as a mental disorder.
Yep.
There was literature behind that. You know what I mean? Like, it's all perspective.
Yeah.
Like, something that seems concrete, 100%, has peer-reviewed studies, fucking shit up the wazoo. Fast forward 20 years, and there's, maybe all our shit was biased because we're pigs. Like, you know what I mean? Same concept. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
But that's all I'm trying to say is
no, I get you. I do. I really do.
Because you can backwards rationalize it and say for XYZ reasons currently that is not the same, but also understand the irony that that's been done to transgenderism, gay, you know, like it'll be something else. But can we fucking at least address it once differently, just one time?
Probably not with culture and race, to be honest.
Because it's too personal for people.
Exactly. It's a sensitive issue for people. And
stop
considering
identifying
so many people,
by your, ironically enough,
people were oppressed, people were slaves, people were literally maltreated.
100%.
So
but
that
he's
comes
Korean,
from a place of
not black. He's Korean.
Asians were still discriminated against heavily.
Everyone's discriminated against.
Yes, to a degree. But there are different communities that are
I'm sure we could find
marginalised
Asian slavery,
more.
but you wouldn't say it's the same level as black slavery.
No, but they had there's different. I don't ever want to minimize anything, so it's a matter of differentiation in the way that people were treated.
Yeah.
And I think that differentiation means that the societal norms and the culture and everything else that's within that framework, whether it's gender, race, sex, whatever, class,
yeah. Don't you
needs
see this
to
as
be
a justification
dictated
though?
by the people who represent that minority. So, for example, LGBTQIA+.
Wouldn't he be the minority
who are
though?
we asking?
It's perspective.
No. We
It's
asked,
perspective.
and what they did is we asked Asian individuals, right? People who are born as Asian. It's the same as people of color. You go to people of color, you go, what have we done and what can we do to improve? It's the same thing. You always go back to the people who are oppressed or the minorities because we don't give them the platform to speak.
But it's perspective. He's being oppressed currently. Isn't he?
I wouldn't say he's being oppressed, no.
Okay, so discrimination.
I'll use the term discrimination, sure.
Yeah.
Oppressed, he's British.
He was able
and
to
he's
do
white.
that, so he's not oppressed.
Literally not oppressed.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I guess I understand as a white person.
It requires
that
a
wasn't
power
happening.
distribution.
Yes.
Oppression requires a power distribution. Differential.
Mm-hmm. So he's not.
At
Okay,
this point
yeah,
of
agreed.
difference,
He's
he
not
does
oppressed.
not have oppression.
Yeah.
That is why we would go to seek answers. So if we've got Asian friends, and I know both of us do, we would consult them. We would go, how do you feel about this? If it's I don't give two fucks what a person does, cool. Go with the majority. And it's the same with most people of color as well. You're going to find that individuals react differently to the majority versus the minority versus individuals versus collective groups. It's always going to be a different response.
Yeah.
Try to go with what the minority say.
But can you see what I mean? Can you see how? Yeah, I can. But can you see how the reasoning kind of becomes like duplicitous in the fact that
Duplicitous.
if the
Give me the
majority
definition first. I don't know what that word is.
it kind of falls on itself.
Yeah,
Is what I'm trying to say. Is like if the majority feels a certain way, therefore it is. There's been times in history where the majority can feel a certain way and that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like do you know what I mean? Like
I do.
I keep going back to those points because they're very real and very prominent, and it would be nice for people to realize, like, whilst not the best case, these things tend to occur, and then it's more of everyone's like I call it's like my red jacket analogy, like. You got someone that's got a cool new red jacket, and you got that one asshole in the room that's like, I've got a red jacket like that. Actually, it's fucking just as cool as your red jacket.
Yeah.
Like, can we see that person has a red jacket? And I understand you could say that inversely. But moving into a space where there is no red jacket conversation, I guess is where I'm trying to go.
Yeah.
And that we don't have people that are journalists and authors speaking as experts. No, but we're not speaking as experts.
No, we're not. We're
In
speaking
any
as lay
way.
people.
We're just having a discussion that it would be nice for other people to have discussions on matters as opposed to passing judgment.
And I think on that, I would agree. And I think that we need health professionals. We need people that are actually interviewing.
That's what I've been saying
and
the whole
Dr. Phil,
time.
the whole thing,
Yeah.
right? I would love to see the interview for that.
He's not even a psychologist, is he?
No, he is. So one of the things that they do, that he had
finished
to
the
do
video?
is, I know this all about Dr. Phil. He had to sign papers pretty much that identified that he would not be working as a professional psychologist on the show. So he is registered as a psych. Especially with a doctorate and everything, but he cannot identify that he's treating people when he's as that show
On TV.
Yeah,
Think that
That's a breach
because
of
of ethical
whatever,
and
because
professional
we've given
liability.
that
Yep.
pass, if you will. If we said to people, okay, if you're not okay in your body, then it's okay. So people are just taking that and running with it, and that's what he's done with race.
I don't think it's even. I don't even think it's just gender. I don't think that you can identify with the gender either. You know my.
And this is what's bad too, is when you when you have news articles or news companies and articles
matter of opinion. You know,
passing,
you are what you are, and if you,
they're trying to do these as subject matter experts.
I can't hear both of you.
I know.
treat you like that, but you can't
But they can.
call you them
I was
and
like,
they, you know,
I ain't gonna touch that one. Man.
as an individual. You know, this guy's he's an idiot. You know, and you can tell
Again. Possibly, but like, it's all about perspective. And right now, they're proving the thing where people are like, they want things to be a certain way, but then when the boot's on the other foot, they're exactly like the people that oppress them. It's happening with everything, especially the big thing with Corona right now and racism. But again, I guess you could say, because I'm seeing it through like white media, maybe that's how they're pushing it. But I'd seen it live on television when there was the riots and stuff and things like that. There was the COVID stuff in tandem, and there was a lot of racist. That's the rain, and the house is making noise, guys. The blacks were being the predominant aggressive racist towards Asians. Now, I'm not saying that whites weren't doing it as well, but you would assume that they would have some sort of perspective on racism, right? But it's shown, and again, like I said, there are some that obviously understand it. Fucking, they all probably understand it. But it's like when it's on the other boot, it happens, man. Like they do the same shit, and like that's fucked. Like, stop. Or understand it. Like, I guess it's going to be a perpetual cycle, which I could do.
if you watch any of his videos.
Sheila, your thoughts on this? Did we do this as a society?
I think so. I mean,
It's the boomer question. Society, guys, did it.
We are society,
though.
though.
Whitewashed, right? It comes, with the indigenous community, Chinese community, Black community, and now that we're getting more traction, they're trying to flip the switch, and because of this, it's really hurt all of us. Right?
They are trying to
now,
flip
what
the
if they
switch.
say, "Oh, I identify as a Korean or a Black person, therefore I can tap into the funds that are for people of color." They can start saying things like that, and that is not okay, right?
That's
because
capitalism,
they'll
baby.
go beyond that, and the more we keep letting
That's like releasing a product in China because it has more people and they can buy more product.
I'm not going to speak to this comment.
Yeah. So that just opened. This is what I mean is like they don't understand by just tolerating, understanding, maybe deferring to medical professionals that
Oh my
you can circumvent all of this shit, man. Like that's fucked on so many levels. Yeah, I don't think really. She's trying to say something, but not really understanding the full scope of what she.
Slide, the more other things are going to come up that's going to be ridiculous, that's going to really offend us. So we really need to stop this now, right before it gets even worse.
And Isaiah,
Stop a culture of being offended all the time. Whoa!
Let's say this. If you look at
Good call, lady.
Expound on that with Black culture. Black culture runs the world, whether or not it be food, whether or not it be dance. In America, food, dance, entertainment.
Not entirely.
And this is not entirely, not at all.
Yeah, no. We're a multicultural world.
This is why you don't have non-subject matter experts appear as subject matter experts on topics like
We'll
this.
We'll pay that.
Just because he is Asian does not make him a subject matter expert on fucking cultural standards across the world.
It makes you an expert on your personal experiences as an Asian person.
Which he's currently showing us he has none of.
I remember in the 80s when these anorexic white women were viewed as something, to behold. And now you've got lip injections, butt injections. I remember when every Black woman was fat, and now if you look at how things are changing, we've rounded these social corners and edges to the point where
Fox News, everybody.
I don't think we are.
Fox News.
I felt like this was going somewhere. And it's just. Have you seen?
I'm
the
so
video of the guy,
glad.
like slamming his head against the fucking stove.
Can I take this as a win? Can I please take that as a win? That was amazing.
Yeah, you can take that as a win. That was
oh my
fucking
god,
dumb.
See how like
That
it was.
last comment, I'm infuriated. Just
He's a dickhead.
Dumbass.
So, like I'm saying, just
No.
allow people, just allow people to fucking have their shit and talk to a doctor. I mean,
yeah.
Shit, man.
But I do think that if you're really,
Whew.
if we're seriously going to go through that whole process with individuals, oh my lord,
Oh, no.
months ago,
Fuck
Melbourne
up.
Where's my
residents
mouse?
in 10 different postcodes were waking up on their first day of yet another crucial lockdown.
Cool.
Well,
Thanks,
we were in
lady.
lockdown for 9 months, so sack a fart.
No, but to everyone else that's currently in lockdown, I get how shit it is.
But we've been
we
through
did
it
it.
longer.
You can definitely do it. Don't. It's shit, and it's shit the entire time. Definitely use if your state has friend bubbles and stuff. Dating apps. Talk to people.
Get out where you can.
Human connection is so important.
It really is. That was such an isolating time.
I probably don't want to put this on the podcast, but I was pretty depressed. I was talking to a psychologist through lockdown and stuff, and it was really bad. I had a relationship end through it, and whatnot. And it's really dark, and it's really shit, and it's really bad.
It is.
Watch really shitty news, stuff like that. It'll make you happy. I watch lots of comedies and stuff. But
Animal videos. Get out. Do
Yeah.
some exercise as hard as it is, even if it's just
or
one
if you don't
block
want to,
around.
don't. But if you do, it helps. Like,
yeah, or even just outside. Just step on the grass without your shoes. Anything that you can. Like,
yeah.
Also, thank you for sharing what you did. I think that actually is a good set of.
don't psych me.
No, it's a good and important thing to be vulnerable
Yeah.
in front of an audience, as well as the fact that a lot of males need to hear that.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. So it's gonna be shit, dudes. But just reach out, do things. Video games saved my life. They really did. And find what works for you.
Yeah.
And
Start
fucking
hobbies
do
if
it,
you don't.
man.
If you're someone who
Yeah.
gets bored easily, do that. Video calls, Zooming.
As this is a dating and relationship podcast, look, man, you have
fucked. Like,
you'll
not
start
in
a
a bad way. Like,
podcast,
start
literally
getting
get
laid.
fucked.
It works.
You'll get some
Like-
crazy stories, man. OnlyFans, the dribbler, that shit was all created in lockdown.
The ear
There's
licker.
way more. The ear
I
licker.
went down on me and drew me like a goblin.
Yeah,
It's
man.
Really, some
These are all
story.
like
These
lockdown
are
things, man. Like, it's
quality.
crazy
Seriously,
shit.
a guy gave me a massage and like made me dinner. I'm like, holy shit, my ex didn't
I
like
remember.
do that for me.
Oh, you told me this. Maybe you
yeah,
haven't told
it
me
was
this.
amazing. Yeah, people will meet standards higher than the lowest bar of expectations you once had.
But yeah, so as you can see, whilst in the moment, all of this seems trivial and you're like, this is just shit, I can't go anywhere and do
there are
anything.
things you can grasp that can help.
Yeah.
And if you can't get help, try to seek it. We now have, at least in Australia, we've got 20 mental health care plan sessions where you can access that, which is better than the 10 that we previously had. There's Lifeline, which now have an
Beyond
SMS
Blue.
line as well.
All of that.
Men's line as well. There are so many things that you can do for support. DV individuals as well. There are support payments and plans as well. So,
and us, like a lot of you are our personal friends
feel
and
free
stuff
to send
and
us
whatever.
a message. We're always here. We're always
Call
open
me
to
if
talk.
you've got my number and you need things. Call.
Don't call me. I'm busy. I'll text and I'll email.
I'll text you if I'm busy.
Yeah.
I will text. See, she's young. They don't answer phones.
No, I love having. We've discussed this. I like phone calls. I just do too much to be able to have phone calls, and also.
And look, honestly, the
line.
lockdown could be very much us in a couple of weeks anyway.
I feel like we're going to hit back again.
But that's the human condition. Like, it's coming and all that shit.
And I got the jab. I got both jabs. So I'm.
Yes, and she didn't die, guys.
I didn't die. I lived. I got Pfizer,
Alive.
by the way.
Yeah, Astra's the one that's not good.
Apparently so.
Yeah, I don't know if we spoke about that. So actually, since last week, the government's pushing out Astra to everyone that can
under 60
get it.
Yep.
Yeah. So the medical advice that's come forward. So again, Peter has read this. Take that with a grain of salt. But every medical professional that I've spoken to personally and read about online have all said, if you are under that age, do not get AstraZeneca. Wait until you can get the other vaccines. Pfizer, and there's another one too.
Yeah, there's one Jordan's. Or
But unfortunately, we live in a day and age where the government will give you something that isn't fully fucking tested and has effects that they're not fully telling people about. And there's all this evidence currently that says it's probably not a fucking smart idea.
And also an important thing to say, you're not anti-vax if you don't want to get the COVID jab.
No,
I had to get mine because I'm a
choose.
health professional and I won't be able to actually treat people unless I have it.
I'm not anti-soft drink because I want to drink a Pepsi Max. I'll drink a Coca-Cola.
There you go. Look after yourselves. Be kind to yourselves. And, you know, if you ever need help, reach out. We're always here.
Yes. And if you don't know us and you listen to us,
suck a dick. Just kidding.
relevantplatitudes@gmail.com. Or our Instagram is erplatpod. And, you know, we will, if we can't help you, which we definitely
We can
will.
send you some resources that will.
Yeah, we'll
Or
put
point you in the right
path.
direction anyway.
But, mate, we'll be there. Don't stress. There's one thing we can do with our lack of fame currently is we can reply to, you know, some comments and some inbox stuff.
We can. So get us famous and then we
I
won't.
almost turned the podcast off instead of hitting the outro. But thank you guys. Really cool episode this week.
Yeah,
it was really
good
interesting.
discussion.
Don't get what's that?
What?
What?
I was making noises. Sorry.
I thought you were like trying to like stop me from pressing
I was just
buttons.
making noises.
Okay. Yeah. Have a good week, dudes. See you guys next Friday.
What are you waiting for? I'm waiting. The car's cold. Get the fuck out of here. What? Fucking warm it up. Get out of here. All right.
You're the man.
Get the fuck out of here.
Get out of here. Thanks for listening to Irrelevant Platitudes.
I swear my